Okay, so this is a hopefully somewhat simplified explanation of spinal mechanics. We're going to imagine just a single vertebra. Okay, so you have the body of the vertebra, and then you have these two wings, one on each side. So imagine like airplane wings. Okay, you could also think of like the way a bicycle handlebar works. Okay, but the difference here is it can also move forward backwards. So the bicycle may not be the best example. So I guess we'll go with airplane wing or wings for this to kind of visualize it, because it can move forward, potentially backwards, and then also tilt this way. There also is the possibility of going this way, but that's something we want to try to minimize to simplify this, and to also avoid too much compression or postural collapse and pinching. So we're trying to find neutral, or also have control with rotation. So if we think of extension of the spine, like sitting up tall from a slouch position, or bending backwards, as the case may be, if it's a more exaggerated extension. I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna bring it up against my chest. You can do the same if you have a stick or a cane or a broom handle at home. So although the spine is more in the back, it works through the ribs, the whole body kind of moves with it, okay? So if I imagine that I am extending, basically I'm pushing both wings forward, okay? So as I sit up tall or go to kind of bring forward, like I'm gonna stand up out of my seat, if I'm standing, kind of arching my back. In all cases, you should feel that everything kind of moves forward. So that includes those two wings of the vertebrae, or a single vertebra, okay? So if everything's balanced, they'll move equally together, and they'll be positioned kind of lined up and parallel, okay? But what can happen is if you're posturally collapsing or stuck, you get stuck in one position, you might be a little cockeyed, a little twisted. So that means even as you attempt to extend, it doesn't really change the fact that they're offset, right? So they're both moving in the same direction, but they're stuck, twisted, okay? So to untwist, we therefore have to add rotation to this. So if I'm trying to identify where I'm stuck, I want to try to get a sense of maybe where it doesn't move so well into rotation that would otherwise correct it. And as long as it's not too painful, I'm gonna work in that direction to get it to be unstuck or to unstick it, okay? So if I'm stuck back down to the right here, I want to be able to kind of lift, level those wings, right? So I'm not scrunched side bent, and then I'm going to lift and twist. And I'm trying to isolate that particular segment, okay? So where a lot of people get stuck is actually right here in the middle, because of the way our body's kind of slouch and we kind of there. If we're more on one side than the other, then it's, or even if my load is here, but I'm side bent over this way and twisted, I'm stuck over that way. So I want to be able to lift and twist to unstick. And depending on which side you're stuck, you're going to want to push down through that heel and connect, push back to the hip and stabilize that, so that when you lift and twist, you're actually getting that stretch. You got to anchor and then lift, twist, stretch to open. So that there's the stretching component, but then there's also the re-education to keep those muscles open so that it stays and recalibrates and does all the things it's supposed to. All right, so if it's really particularly stuck, this is a more advanced thing, but we may want to take a strap like this. Again, this is more of this thoracic spine. You don't want to necessarily crank too much on the neck or the low back. But I'm going to raise this table up so you can see it better. And depending on what side is stuck, I'm going to have that strap around those ribs. So imagine where like a bra line would be up about here, just below the shoulder blades. I'm going to be somewhere around there, maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher, which is okay if it's over the shoulder blades. Those are pretty durable, so it's not going to be too problematic there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of lean over the table. I'm going to sink into those hips. And again, I'm going to load the side that I believe is stuck, and I'm going to anchor with that opposite hand, and I'm going to take that arm, I'm going to thread the needle, and I'm going to come in through here. So you may not have a great view there. I'm going to come around. Okay, so I'm coming around through here.
I know, it looks like a
All right, and so if I stuck on this side, I'm going to have my other hand forward, pinning that strap down. You can also use a thin blanket or towel just to kind of catch the edge of the lip of it here. And I'm loading that same side hip and grounding that hip and heel, and I'm turning and looking that way. So I'm not forcing, I'm not cranking, I'm just kind of guiding that as I connect on that side of my body, as I lift my chest, maybe even breathe out, especially as we're on the ribs, when I connect with the core and with the breath to kind of get that to work out. You may not feel a lot of movement there even after a few reps, but if you notice specific restriction, standing or sitting, and then you do that, you'll probably notice it to be considerably looser, even though you don't feel a lot in the moment, because it does bring a little more attention to that area and helps to reconnect, recoordinate, recalibrate. And that can help the process of getting that loosened up, at least to start with.